So starting off, it kind of looks like a range day, but there's definitely some downward bias here, so I'll be interested to see if it expands into, well, maybe it is just a range day after all. So you can see where I initially had this support. It's a perfect measured move for this range. So if you pull this up here and look at that, it's a perfect measured move, which makes me think this might just actually be a wider range, but we'll see if this is held. This support gets held. Nothing to do right now. I would be tempted to potentially look for a break and new low of this downtrend, because this is a pretty certain downtrend. You can see there's 1, 2, 3 touches. You could possibly even make 4 if you drew it a little bit differently. If you pulled this in, maybe, then you could say maybe there's 4 touches. Anyway, I feel like this is a pretty confirmed downtrend, but I don't want to trade into this double bottom right here, because like I was saying, this could be the range support, or this could end up being a downtrend. I don't want to draw any kind of wider downtrend. There might be one, but whenever prices are sort of choppy like this, lots of times, I know from past experience, I'll draw a wide downtrend or a wide uptrend whenever it's truly a range, and it'll kind of mess me up. So I usually don't like to draw these, especially early on. I'd rather play a range. So we'll see what happens. So if I were a more experienced trader, then I might be thinking to go long off of this triple test. But I know that I usually don't do very well with those types of trades, so I'm not going to take something like that. So I'm currently trading a Apex evaluation account because they are 80% off, or they were 80% off. So I figured might as well try it out. I've done a couple of them before, or I've done a few of them before. I think I've done maybe 3 or 4. I think I've passed 3 of them. I think I've done 5 total, actually. So 5 total, and I think I've passed 3 of those. And those were, I think, this past April, whenever I actually passed them. And the other ones that I've tried, I have not passed. So it's been a little while since I passed one. And my trading's been pretty up and down. While I'm trading, I like to keep distractions to a minimum, because honestly, it's kind of like watching paint dry sometimes. So literally anything would be more entertaining. Um, so I always make sure to lock up my phone. I have this little timed lock box that I'll put my phone in. So I'm turning that on right now for 2 hours and 35 minutes. So just got that running. So that way I don't even have the chance to use my phone. So that's on Do Not Disturb. It's in the lockbox. Don't have to worry about it. Usually I would have a plugin on Chrome that keeps me from browsing the web too, because I found that sometimes I would do that and I would get caught up in maybe watching a video or something. So it was called Stay Focused, and I currently don't have that on because I'm streaming, but I usually do, so that way I can stay focused. Recently, sometimes I've been listening to music or podcasts, but I don't think that that's a really great thing to do. I think I should really be focused on the chart. So that's part of why I'm doing this stream, is for accountability and to, I guess, track that, so that way it's all right here. I'll have videos of everything, and I know nobody's viewing this right now, but maybe someone or a couple someones will view this and sort of, like I was saying, hold me accountable. So now on this downtrend, it looks like we have a break and a new low. So I'm not sure about this range because we've just been continuing to go lower and lower and lower. So if prices really moved up strongly, then I might be looking for a long setup. But for right now, I'm just kind of neutral, and I'm going to wait until there's something clearer. It's possible we might get a measured move down. I'll go ahead and mark that. Nothing really to do here, just kind of waiting to see if prices are going to reverse now that this downtrend played out, or if they're going to continue down. Before the open, I'm going to do a quick double check to make sure
Order
that
submitted.
Apex is working. You can see the short exposure says 1 right there, so
Order
I
canceled.
would say yes, it is working. So we have the potential for a failed second entry short. I'd like to see prices push up above the EMA and pull back, and then I might consider that. But as I was saying earlier, these lows haven't really been respected, so I'm not convinced that this is a range right now, or at least it might not be a range where I have it drawn. So it's looking unlikely that we're going to get the failure that I was looking for. Actually, it's basically impossible now that we've ticked lower here. We're looking congestive, so you can see prices are stacking inside of this bar. So they're going pretty sideways here. Well, now they're pushing up through there, so let's see what happens here. It's possible there's some kind of uptrend working up. So now we have this downtrend played out, possible uptrend working higher. If we get a good setup above the EMA, then I might be interested. Failure has already triggered, so not looking for that there. But if we get a good bounce off the EMA and this uptrend looks to be holding, then I'll probably be interested in taking that. Okay, so possible overshoot of this uptrend. Now we're really getting some momentum, so I'm thinking that this is probably a range. It's possible that the support is actually lower here, but I'm going to leave it where it is for now and just kind of see what happens. So I do like how the midline fits through here, like I was saying earlier. So I'm thinking this trend is probably incorrect. It's possible that it's wider and that this is truly the midline, but I don't really like drawing wide trends in a possible range. I'd rather play the tighter trends. So I'm going to just draw this short-term uptrend. So if we get a nice pullback to the EMA, I'll probably be interested in going long. So we pushed up and through this resistance level that I thought might keep prices from going higher. So we pushed up and through it, but we didn't actually really breach it. So we did make a higher high, but it's not super convincing. So this could still come into play. Keep that in mind. I'd say ideally now I'd be looking for a second entry long off of the EMA, looking for a break and new high of the short-term uptrend, and for prices to move up for a test of the overnight highs. Don't know if we'll get it, but we'll see. That's a pretty strong push down. So we do get some rejection off the EMA there. Got a first entry. I would be hesitant to push up into these highs. I mean, it's, so it doesn't have to be a perfect line for resistance. It's more of sort of a zone. So this could be, a wider zone where around here is just selling. But we'll see what happens. So we are turning off of that again, potentially. Even if there is a second entry here, I'll probably skip it. But I do want to see what this trend might look like. So that's a possibility. But it's looking a little bit less likely now. So this is an area where I'd say this is just too tough. Because, yeah, you could have a trend here. It could hold. If you got a good signal bar here, I wouldn't take it. it looks like there's too much resistance here. Could it work out? Could it push through? Yeah, sure, but I'm not going to risk that. So there's your signal bar. Looks like it's 2 ticks from the extreme. This could be a good trade, too congestive. It's into this resistance. Like I was just saying, I'm not sure of this uptrend. It looks a little weird to me. So I'm going to skip it, and I go for 1-to-1. So it looks like you're pretty close to working out. Not quite there yet. But I'm going to put that marker there so I can keep track of that. You can see that congestion there. We are sort of rejecting off of that resistance again, but it looks like we're probably going to push up and through. Sometimes, whenever I don't take a trade, I'll catch myself thinking, like rooting for the opposite side, being like, wow, well, I really hope it doesn't work now that I didn't take it. But it's funny because it really doesn't matter if it works or not. My decision to take the trade or not take the trade should be independent of whether it works or not. So here we go. We are finding rejection off of that level still. It might actually be a little bit higher, something like this. I don't know, I kind of like it there. And it looks like this congestion was correct. This uptrend I don't like. Take that one off. Like I said, I don't really like putting those wider uptrends. I just wanted to put it there to say, hey, that's a possible uptrend. Extend my range. I usually do that just to pull it back a little bit. Whenever you edit something, so if I were to put like this line, and then if I were to go edit something in this one, like change the color of it, so we just change this to yellow. These will sort of shift around sometimes. I don't know if it did there, but anyway. Put that back. Looks like we might end up hitting that. This is one that I bet Mac will probably mark the second entry, because you're clearly looking for a break and new high of this short-term uptrend. And it looks like you probably have, I think you have room to, yeah, you have room to scalp out. But like I said, I go for 1-to-1, so this resistance really bugged me out. Didn't want to go into that. So you'd be tapping off that order. Chances are you'll probably get out. So it looks like this is the break and new high here. So that's been achieved. Ultimately, my target is going to be up here for these overnight highs. It's possible you do have maybe an uptrend like the one that I had drawn earlier. You're skipping some swings there, so maybe I'd try it something tighter, something like that, possibly. But we'll see if that holds. Again, like I said earlier, don't really like playing these wider trends. I'd rather play the tighter stuff in a range. So let's see if this holds here. This will basically tell me whether it was a break and new high or whether this uptrend is correct. So it looks like we are shaping up to potentially hold it, but this also could produce a trap as longs buy, or buyers go long at this support line. So we'll see if we are able to break below it, if we get any follow through. So it looks like we probably did trap some longs here that went long on this potential trend line that didn't end up being correct. So it looks like there's a short-term uptrend, a couple swings down, and then a couple moves up. So you can kind of see uptrend, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, up to the highs. So that's kind of how I think that is played there. So we'll see what happens whenever we get back to this support level or this support level. So I want to see if we end up actually holding as a range or if we end up having something like some kind of wider downtrend. But I don't want to play any kind of wider downtrend yet. I'm actually going to leave it marked just in case to see if we turn off of it again. I'm going to do the same like I was saying earlier, extend it right and pull back the end of it so it doesn't sort of shift around on me. This is technically the true high here, but it doesn't look like that was going to fit very well, or it's possible that that is correct, I guess. It's possible that you have something like this downtrend and we're going to move to potentially go for a break and new low. That doesn't look right to me. Let's just see if this ends up holding at all. But it's only got one touch on the bottom side. Quite a few potentially on the upper side. So let's see if it actually holds anything. Definitely am not interested in playing this trend yet. So looks like maybe the resistance moved up a little bit. Possible rejection off of that. This is a pretty tough spot to take any trades because you don't know what's going to win out, whether this possible trend is going to be right or whether this support is going to hold. You can clearly see there's support coming in here. So maybe you have something like a slightly larger range in here, potentially. It's looking like this trend is probably not correct. Remove that, continue playing the overall range. Let's see if this support holds, or this resistance up here. Again, not interested in playing anything. There's nothing clear to me right now. So just waiting until something clear happens. Maybe the uptrend from earlier was correct. Maybe this was right, and now you have a break and a new high, potentially. Although that's purely sort of after the fact. I don't think it actually helps you at all. A more aggressive trader might take this trade as a triple test, but for me, it's against the bias that I'm looking for. I'm thinking that prices are probably trying to work higher, so I'm not looking for that. It's blocked by a short-term uptrend. If you did believe that this uptrend, like I drew earlier, was right, then you could have an uptrend, break, new high, triple test, but it doesn't make a higher high. This is just too aggressive for me. I don't think this little congestion helps you at all, but I just wanted to mark that from earlier. Potential lower high, this would be a little bit better of a setup. Signal bar is not very good here, so I personally wouldn't really be interested at all in this one. But if you had a good signal bar here, this could potentially be a better setup than this one because it's more confirmation that you might be coming back within this range and that the resistance is holding. So it looks like this smaller range that I drew is correct. Prices are playing it pretty well. You can see the support and the resistance holding. So I'm going to keep that one drawn. I don't really play tight ranges like this. I know that I don't do well with them. So for the most part, I'm just kind of waiting for a pretty clear trend, looking for a setup off of that trend line or a setup within the trend, or if there's a break of it, then going to look for a new extreme, most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't take any trades on a day like this. It's very choppy. If you're watching, you might be wondering why I have the chat turned off. It's because I don't want to get distracted. I don't want anybody else's analysis to cloud my judgment. You might have a better analysis than me, and you might be right. But in the end, I want to be a better trader myself. So try to keep all outside influences off. Not watching anybody else's stream, not keeping the chat replay on or anything like that. So we're moving down through the support. This tells me this range is either weak or incorrect. The fact that we potentially broke out of the lows. If this is the support, then we broke out of the lows and we couldn't even get past the midline. So that's telling me that this is probably a pretty weak range. You can see that we're still holding the support. I think that the support could potentially be lower here, but I need to wait until there's more action at the lows, so at the support, before I can say whether it's here or here or here. But right now I'm leaning towards it being right here. So it looks like that support is holding. Potential fail break out of this smaller range and bounce off of the support. Again, maybe a more aggressive trader would take this trade, but that is just way out of my league. I'll mark it green though. Obviously, these two, I mean, this one not so much, but this one was totally, after the fact marking. So don't look at that and be like, wow, he's so good, he marked these 3 trades. Potential short-term downtrend, break a new low. I wouldn't really want to draw a wider trend here. I don't think that really fits very well. So I'd say this is probably played out, and we might move a little bit higher. One thing to note here is this short-term uptrend wasn't able to play out, but the short-term downtrend was able to play out. So that, along with failing to get past the midline after coming off of support or after a failed breakout, tells me this is probably pretty weak. So I'm watching to see if potentially this range is going to break. It's a pretty strong push though, so maybe not. Maybe we'll move higher. Not interested in any setups right now. It's a pretty strong uptrend here. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe this isn't very weak and we are actually going to move higher. Looks like the failed breakout of this smaller range is fueling prices to go higher. I don't really know how my microphone sounds. I'll have to listen to it afterwards. I hope that it saves this live stream, because this is a really cheap microphone off of Amazon. It's like a little headset mic you'd see in like a call center. So I'll have to listen to this afterwards and see if it's actually any good. I'm guessing it's not. I'm drinking some coffee right now. Sometimes I don't like to drink coffee whenever I trade because it gets me a little bit too jittery. It makes me feel like I have to do something. It makes me almost feel like I have ADHD or ADD or whatever. But I woke up really early this morning. I'm on the Eastern time zone, so it's about 10 a.m. here right now. And I woke up at about 5 a.m. So it's kind of nice. I got some work done in the morning, but I definitely felt like I needed some coffee. Try not to drink it all the time, like I said. Sometimes it's pretty nice though. I'm feeling alright right now. So it looks like there's a break of the short-term uptrend, and we're moving towards a new high. So we'll see if after we reach this new high, are we going to come back within this range? Because now this isn't a true failed breakout because it didn't close outside, but it looks like there's a failed breakout here. It looks like there's a failed breakout here. So this range could be sort of dismantled and out of play now. So I'll be interested to see if there's maybe a setup as prices come back within this range. Again, that's out of my skill, out of my league right now. So I wouldn't look to take that, but I see that as a potential trade. There could be a short coming back in here. pretty congested right there. It is a pretty nice big signal bar, ticked past the other one, closed one tick from its lows. But there's a lot of stack bars there. It looks like that old resistance is holding a support. You can see all these wicks right here. That's rejection. And yeah, you do close back within technically. But I mean, really, if you moved it down a little bit because it could be more of a resistance zone, then you're still kind of holding that as support. So we'll see, we're trying to get through that midline again. This is a really tough spot to trade for me. I don't know if we're going to fail breakout of the range. There's not really a great reason to go long either. It's just kind of no man's land for me. Looks like we definitely have some congestion here. I don't always mark that, but maybe short term. I think I'll usually mark them, and then I'll take them off afterwards because it kind of clutters up the chart. Nothing to do here. Shaping up to be a pretty boring trading day. So far I'm liking doing the live stream though, because I'm sort of talking through what I'm seeing and it's keeping me a little bit more focused. Lots of times whenever the chart looks like this, I just will completely zone out and think about something else, which is not great. You need to stay a little bit more focused on the chart. So maybe this will help with that. It looks like we are coming back within this range. And we'll just have to see what happens. I don't really have any kind of bias right now. This is pretty confusing price action at this point. So this all kind of made sense. You can expect that you're going to get a retest of this short-term uptrend. So that's why I think this is a potential trade. But this resistance, kind of kept me out of that one. Then it looks like after you get the break a new high, you kind of fold into this a little bit larger of a range than the initial congestion that was here. So it looks like we're just kind of working in this. You get a triple test, and again, you could potentially draw this uptrend here and say maybe there's an uptrend with a break and a new high. Now you get two legs down. And then it starts to get a little bit confusing because I would expect after that we might actually break this support level, but you end up coming down, moving higher with the short-term uptrend, break a new high. Now you're playing back within this smaller range. I'm taking this off because, like I said, I don't think it really helps you. It could be correct. Don't know. Doesn't help. Just kind of clutters up the chart. So we will see what happens. Looks like there's a short-term downtrend here. Gets a close outside and a new low. Still not quite hitting the support here. I know in the past I might draw a trend like this, but drawing these wider trends in a range is really dangerous to me. It's probably not correct. Anyway. So looks like this range is probably over. At least this range. I mean, I gotta color code them or something, so that way I can talk about them easier. Yeah, we're moving up. Might get a measured leg. We'll see what happens when we reach that. Definitely have a short-term uptrend here. Maybe something like that. So we're pushing up through this measured move, showing there is some strength here. I think the range support is truly here. This was probably a failed breakout. Okay, we might be rejecting off this measured move. A more aggressive trader might be looking for a lower high now to come back towards the EMA. A really aggressive trader might even look to take this short here. So like I was saying, a more aggressive trader might be looking to short back to the EMA. They might have a sell stop down here below this bar. So that way if prices come back through, it might go back to the EMA. But that's not me. Okay, so we're moving higher for that break and new high of this short-term uptrend. Definitely going past this measured move now. It's possible you have a slightly wider uptrend, maybe. But we'll have to see if it holds. We're getting pretty far from the EMA, so I would be surprised if this held again. I keep popping my fingers and I can see it pop up on the mic. Might have to stop that. It's kind of a little habit. Okay, so it looks like this trend was not correct, and you just have a short-term uptrend with a break in new high. You might have some sort of spike in channel. This is a pretty strong up move. So if prices continue to move higher, then I'll draw a spike in channel, but don't want to do it too early. One thing that I like about doing this live stream so far is sometimes I'll try and take notes while I'm trading, but then I have to look down. It takes me like a few seconds, and I'll look back up and I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I can just sort of talk and watch. It's not as distracting, I guess. This range looks really odd to me. Just looks a little off, especially with this failed break lower. So I'm wondering if this will end up being the true support later on. Right now there's totally more touches here. It says 1, 2, 3 touches, and if it's again a zone, then it looks like, maybe this one is, kind of using that support as well, but we'll see if prices come back down here. Maybe this is the true support, because it just looks a little odd. Doesn't really fit quite right to me, but it might be. Prices are struggling to get back to the EMA, so you have to wonder what's happening here. Is there a horizontal support line that'll come into play later, or is it some kind of spike and channel up? So let's see how that ends up fitting. I'm going to remove this until we get some sort of double bottom potentially. We're definitely getting some strength coming in here, but I wouldn't want to buy just yet because we're getting right up towards these overnight highs. So would not be surprised at all if we end up turning down. So right now, as far as trades that I would be looking to take, I'm either looking for prices to break out of the overnight highs and prove to me that they're going to continue trending upwards, or I want to see them turn down, start trending down, and then I'm going to look for a trade with the trend. Prices are looking pretty strong though, so we'll see. It's possible that this is exhaustion at the highs though, and we could see a pretty quick reversal, even though it looks like some strength. This bar looks pretty exhaustive, this bullish bar right here. So if this spike in channel, I was going to say that we just overshot it, but we did pull back within, so I would say, we still potentially close back within this spike in channel. That could be right, but we're pushing it. So basically now we'll find out, is this actually a range, or are we going to trend higher? And I'll take a look at the daily chart. I have it on the other screen here, so I'm going to pull that up. On the daily chart, we're touching off the EMA. We just had 3 bars sell off for the past 3 days. So definitely wouldn't be a surprise if we get a little bit of an uptrend here for the day, but we'll see. So prices seem to be respecting the spiking channel that I have drawn so far. Watching these two levels sort of battle it out right now. Nothing to do. These are areas that sometimes Mac will mark a trade, and I really struggle to understand how he could know which level is going to win out. So for me, I'd rather wait on something a little bit clearer. Okay, continuing to move higher, make another higher high here. And still respecting, maybe not respecting the spiking channel. I'd say that's still respecting it. We can move it a little bit wider here. It would still fit pretty well. Maybe something like that. So maybe this is even a touch off of it. That would make sense because prices are not coming back to the EMA. So whenever prices turn up before they reach the EMA, I like to ask myself why. So maybe something like this is correct. Still nothing to do here. Shaping up to be a day with no trades, but there's still an hour and 45 minutes, so a lot can happen. I generally trade from 9:15 a.m. until 12 p.m. Recently I've been starting more around 9:30, but same sort of difference. I like the way that's fitting. So I would be prepared to be looking for a long now. Now the prices have broken out and seem to be holding this. I would really like to see it hold again, and I would be definitely hesitant to go long before prices come back to the EMA. But this trend, this spiking channel, is probably going to require a break and a new high. Looks like we're stacking within this large bullish bar right here, getting some congestion. So we're breaking the spike and channel. I'm doubting that I'll get a setup here. So this could be a failed break out of congestion that pushes prices to the break and new high. Maybe. Looks like a visual second entry, not a true second entry, but it looks like visually you could say 1, 2, even though this ticks higher. I would not be interested in taking this though. Just too aggressive with this overnight high being up here. You held it basically once here, another time here, so that's twice. Holding this as support, the old resistance. So it seems risky to me to take a long right into that level. That's why I was doubting that I'll get a setup here. I could see potentially a good setup being if you are able to, well, I was going to say if you're able to close up above here, but now that you've done it, closing up above here and then coming back and bouncing off of this level, that could be a good setup. Not one that I would take, but could be. Kind of making a triple test here. Pausing at that old resistance. And coming back down. Now you kind of have two opposing forces. So there are probably traders that are fading the overnight highs, looking to come back within the range. But then you also have this magnet here for the break and new high. So which one will win out? I don't know. It's too hard to determine for me. So I'm not looking for anything. I keep hitting this cord. I can see it's pretty loud. Yeah, it's got to be obnoxious, so I'll try not to hit it. So you can see there's an uptrend, a break, first attempt at a new high, and you'll probably get a second attempt at a new high that could produce a good short back within this range. So we'll see. If you get a good close below the EMA, pull back and test it, then I might be looking to short there. You can see for this congestive area, you got a failed breakout that came back within, tested it, and now we're moving lower. So we'll see what we get here. I would also say there's some support coming in right here. We'll see if prices are able to close below that. So it looks like that support might be holding here. And let's see if this second attempt at the new high is going to be successful, because this could be, I wouldn't take this, but it could be 2 legs back. So short-term downtrend, break, new low, 2 legs back before we move to a new high. But I would think that it's more likely that if we do get another leg up, that it's going to fail and will probably come down. That's what I think is the more likely scenario, but I don't know. I definitely wouldn't want to short here, so not yet, at least. So even if we ticked higher here and had a nice bearish bar, I would not want to short with this triple test right here. But we are pushing down and through. So if we push down and through and then pull back to the EMA again, then I might look to enter. Still finding some support there. Get the close through. Let's see how it looks as far as a measured move goes. You have almost perfectly hit that measured move. Let's see what will happen here. Looks like you're starting that second attempt at a new high. I'm thinking about getting a webcam too and putting that on these live streams because I think it'd be interesting to see how I'd look whenever I'm taking a trade. I'm reading a book right now called Fear is Fuel. It was recommended by the guy who created the Top Pick Trading course. His name is Eric. And in the course, he recommended this book. And there it talks about finding your fear tells, you know? So like what happens whenever you're scared or anxious or excited or whatever it is. So I think it'd be cool to have a video of what it looks like whenever I'm about to take a trade or I'm in a losing trade or whatever it is. Like, do my shoulders tighten up? Do I get super focused or whatever it is? It'd be cool to see. But then also I'm going to have to like actually like shower and get ready in the mornings. Well, maybe, I guess it doesn't really matter, but if I'm in a live stream, then I would feel like I should. So we get that push below the EMA. Oops. So if we pull back here and get a nice lower high, that would create a failed second entry long and possibly confirm this downtrend. But I would definitely like to see some sort of pullback here. So pull back to the EMA, good signal bar. I might like that. Let's see what'll happen. Okay, this is the closest to a setup that I've seen so far for today. Or at least close to something that I would be interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and put an order in here. Be ready for it.
Order submitted.
Recently I've been entering everything with limit orders because sometimes I'm not fast enough with the stop order and then I'll miss an entry entirely. So I've just been entering one tick past with the limit order. So basically like kind of treating it like it's a stop order, you know? So like I would have it right here and if prices tick below, then I would like go ahead and enter it. So like if there was a bearish bar right here, I would feel like I'm entering too far from the EMA right there. Looks like this downtrend is kind of getting confirmed right here. But it's unlikely that I'll get a setup here now. Just not how the bar's set up. I feel like I didn't set up right. Whenever I look for a signal bar, I'm looking for prices to tick past. So let's say if this one was a signal bar, I'm looking for it to tick past the previous bar and then close 2 ticks or less from their extreme. And that might be too much. So really, like you should be doing 0 ticks, no ticks. It should be closing on its extreme, or maybe 1 tick. 2 ticks might be a little bit too lenient, but I've done well with that in the past. So that's kind of what I'm sticking with. So yeah, unfortunately no entry here because of the signal bar. We'll see if prices end up going down here anyway. Mac will probably mark this, I bet, because he will take, well, I say he'll probably mark it. He'll probably mark it if it works out. But he takes failures on bars that are not perfect or not bearish. So they can be the opposite. But this is a doji though, and I know he doesn't really like taking on bars after a doji sometimes. Well, it's a doji and this is a balanced bar, really. It's kind of a in between. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I want to keep in mind that this has not played out. Prices could come back to test that. Getting a possible second entry short here. Maybe it'll give us another chance to enter on a double test of this old support. So you can see there was support here. Prices broke below it. They came back and they tested it. They might test it again, giving a second entry short off the EMA. So I'm going to
order submitted.
But I've got to see it tick above this bar and then close bearish. But I don't want to close too far because this is looking a little bit congestive here. And I don't want to enter right into these lows. So let's say if there's a bar that, closed right here, I don't want to have to enter. Shoot, I clicked the wrong one. I don't want to have to enter all the way back here to go for a short there. So I'd like to see sort of a smallish bar. It has ticked above. So let's see if there's rejection. I'd probably look to enter here. Doesn't look like it. Looks like you're getting a good amount of momentum here. We'll see if it reverses. Still going to stay ready. Oops. So it's looking pretty promising here. I don't love that this is a higher high right there. And it's not really looking like rejection. So unless we kind of shoot down here, then I'm not really gonna, I don't think I'm gonna take that. Nope. All right.
Order canceled.
And looks like we might attempt this break a new high now. This downtrend could be correct still, but it's kind of iffy. It looks weird to me to have basically two equal trends like this in both directions. You might get a second entry short off of the resistance at this point, but now that we've pushed up and through the EMA, I'm not looking to take it. Kind of back to like no man's land. So support here, price able to break through, kind of hold it as resistance, and then it kind of dissipates. So this support's not really in play anymore. We'll see what happens with this resistance. You had this micro range. I'm going to remove that and put a resistance line because there's the triple test. So this resistance might come back into play. And just like down here, it's possible that the range is a little bit higher and the range is actually something like this. But I'm not really going to know until we get some more information, so I'm going to keep it here for now. If I can get it right. Here we go. So moving down off that resistance again, we might be moving for a break and new low of this downtrend. So that could have been the true second attempt. So you see there's one attempt, move down. This could have been the true second attempt at the break and new high. Prices are looking really choppy though. And back to nothing to do. So still an hour and a half left in my trading day, at least. So still enough time that something could pop up, but we'll see. This is like barbed wire. You definitely don't want to enter here. Consecutive closes above and below the EMA with dojis in an area where there's no clear direction. It's no good. Even with the coffee, I'm still pretty tired. But maybe it's just because the market's kind of so slow. Nothing's really happening. Okay. Looks like we're moving towards that breaking new high. It's a pretty strong uptrend right there. Finding resistance at that triple test. Kind of looks like two legs up. I could see this as a possible second entry short. So if you count that as a bottom, you could say maybe 1, 2, second entry short with two legs up to resistance level. Out of my league, if I tried to take those ones, I'm not going to hit them consistently. Just interested to see if that's going to hit 1-to-1. I'd still say that's a possible trade. Mac will mark those a lot. There's a second entry at a support or resistance level, or a horizontal support or resistance level. but I generally don't do very well with those. So right now, I mean, there's really just nothing that I'm interested in. My mind is wandering around to non-trading stuff. Getting pretty tired too. Would not mind taking a nap after the trading day. So like I was talking about with, sometimes it feels like literally anything is more interesting than watching the chart. I'm like scraping something off my coffee mug right now for no apparent reason, which is oddly more entertaining than watching prices chop around right now. Sometimes I think, though, because of that, like, do I really love trading as much as I think I do? Like, if I am not like super enthralled to be sitting here watching right now. But I don't know if that's fair. Because if prices were really moving, I would be really into them. So, don't know. So I'm going to remove this. That looks like a pretty convincing attempt at a new high. Not saying we won't hit it, but that's a pretty dang convincing attempt. So you might not now. That's what I'm trying to say. You can definitely see this still looks like 2 legs up to me. 1, 2. But we'll see what happens. Just going to kind of run through what's happened with prices so far. So looks like in the overnight, we started in some kind of range that looked like that. We had a breakout, pull back, move lower for the measured move, which creates this larger range that I've been playing. Within that, short-term downtrend, break, new low, short-term uptrend, fails to play out, showing a bearish bias. Short-term downtrend, break, attempt a new low, you get your new low. Let's see if there's any kind of measured move there. Maybe. Maybe prices are kind of bouncing off 2 different measured moves. The previous range measured move and this leg down. But I don't know, that doesn't look very perfect to me. You kind of fold into this minor downtrend. Check out how this short-term uptrend is still not able to play out. So there's no break in new high before prices make a new low there. Short-term uptrend still not able to play out. You make a triple test, pushing prices to the break and new low of this minor downtrend. So if this is a better signal bar here, I bet that Mac would probably mark this as a maybe an aggressive trade because you have the minor downtrend, break, new low, higher low, far from the EMA, and failed break below a support level. This isn't really a great signal bar, so I still doubt that he'll probably mark it. So now we're moving up. You get a short-term uptrend, 2 legs down, short-term downtrend, gets a break, attempted a new low, bouncing off the EMA, 2 legs up to the new high. Now that I look at this, this is a pretty aggressive trade, but I guess if you're looking at this and understand what's happening, then maybe this is a trade. It's not a true second entry short or anything, but if you can see that that's a short-term uptrend, 2 legs down, 2 legs up, maybe you can take that. I would mess these up all the time if I tried to take trades like this. Because, like I keep pointing out, maybe there's this uptrend here, maybe something like that, or maybe it's just going to continue higher for another leg. So that's something that's out of my level, but looking at it after the fact, you can pretty clearly see what's happening there. Now you get a short-term uptrend that bounces off this triple test. It makes a higher high though, so taking this is pretty aggressive, but it's also a second entry short with a good signal bar. Triple test looks like a slight failed breakout of this range that looks pretty clear at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4 tests on the low side, 3 tests on the high side. Now short-term downtrend, break, new low, failed break out of this smaller range support and bounce off of the larger range support. Gives you a good signal bar. I could definitely see taking that one. Short-term uptrend, break, new high, failed break out of the range, comes back within, short-term downtrend, break, new low, and now we're moving higher. This range has been basically dismantled. So you have the failed break out the low side, failed break out the high side, and then now this range is no longer being really respected. Get a strong move up, short-term uptrend, goes into a spike in channel, gets broken with a minor downtrend, 2 legs up, attempt at the new high, fail, and bounce off of this previous resistance level for the triple test. And now my expectation is we're probably going to move lower, but we're still kind of chopping. So I guess there's still some buyers in the market. The fact that we have not been able to trade down. Now that everything, although again, there's still not this breaking new high, and you might get this breaking new high. It looks like there's 2 convincing tests. So the fact that we did not trade lower after this tells me that there's probably not as many sellers in the market up here as I thought there were going to be. So we'll see. Maybe we end up moving up and out of this range. Similar to what I was seeing down here whenever I was saying, okay, now that we've made this failed breakout, so we made a failed breakout here, made a failed breakout here, usually you'd expect prices to go ahead and pretty much shoot to the other side. I mean, maybe not shoot to the other side, but methodically work to the other side. Same with here. You have a failed breakout the high side. I would expect prices to start working lower, but they're really struggling to do so. Something's preventing them from going lower. And that tells me that there might be more strength in the market. In this case, that wasn't necessarily the case because I was pointing out how prices were struggling to get through this midline after the failed breakout and were struggling to go higher. But here they are now going higher and failed breaking out of the other side. So it's not always the case, but it's at least a clue that maybe there's more buyers than sellers here. So we're making another attempt at this high. Let's see what happens. Might be successful this time, bumping up against this resistance again. So whenever I'm studying, one thing that I feel like is that my read of the chart is generally pretty okay, pretty good. I feel like I read the chart decently well, but I'm not very good at picking trades. I've been basically break even for a little while now. I've had spurts of doing pretty well, had spurts of not doing so well, but for the most part, I've just been break even for 6 months, maybe, with a slight downward curve. I mean, if you look at the past 6 months, actually, I would say, I actually don't know because I cleared all my historical data, which also cleared my trading data because I was using the Apex trade copier and something went wrong with it. I asked them how to fix it, and they said, oh, you just have to delete this folder. It was historical data. So I deleted it, not really thinking what that was going to be. So I lost like basically 2.5 years or 2 years or whatever it is worth of historical charts, which was a real bummer because of that. And then I also lost all my like past trading data, so I can't go into the trade performance and see, okay, well, how did I do over the past 2.5, 3 years, whatever. I only have till like August or something like that now. So it's kind of a bummer, but also it doesn't really matter. I'm more bummed about the old charts because now I only have like the past year to study. So I need to find a way to get some historical charts, but getting tick data is, at least what I've looked at, is pretty expensive. So maybe there's a better way to do it. I'll have to kind of look into that. But what I've been doing is just studying the past year. So I've spent a lot of time studying 2023. Yeah, prices just don't want to sell off here. Can't quite hit the new high, but just don't want to sell off. This support level doesn't look like it's really doing any good, but there's totally some buying here in this kind of zone right here. And that's not a true resistance level, but this one looks like it is. Sometimes I wonder if I should have chosen a different trading methodology. This one is very slow, very hard to learn. And I think there's other ones that allow for more trades and are probably easier to learn out there. But at this point, I've been doing this for so long that I'm just going to stick with it. I had one viewer and I see they dropped off. I wonder if they did after I said that I'm not consistently profitable. But I put it in the description that I'm not. So who knows? So we hit the break and new high. Makes me think, okay, is there another spiking channel up through here? But this is so sideways, that doesn't look like action for a channel. Maybe there's one up and through here, but don't have enough evidence for that. Clearly, prices were not able to make this break a new low before they went higher. So there's some support here. There's got to be. Maybe something like that. Maybe there. But clearly, you've hit this break a new high now. Maybe you look to take that as a failed breakout. Maybe you look to take that, like I was saying, as a failed breakout. It's also a second entry short with a good signal bar for a move back to the EMA. I think I just pop my fingers whenever I get bored. Oh, I know some people really hate the sound of that, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it on myself, but I also don't really mind it on other people. So now that you have that break and new high, I'd really be expecting prices to trade down, but they've really been struggling to trade down. Maybe you have some kind of larger spike in channel that will come into play. Maybe something like that. Hesitant to play that though. Check out Discord, see if any of my trading friends have taken anything today. Nope, doesn't look like it. Potential lowered high or lower high coming back in, but you'd be going right into the EMA. Don't like that. Really bearish bar. Chances are this uptrend is not correct, but I want to see how prices react there anyway. I'm just going to go and remove it. I don't think it is. So now coming back within this range, now I'm looking for maybe another potential short. You might get a failed second entry long, but I definitely want to be getting out before this support. So it'd have to be, I don't know, it'd have to set up right. Unlikely that I'll get the setup that I was looking for. It would have to tick all the way up there and then go all the way down. And by then, I don't know if I'd want to take it. All right, so you've ticked above. That's pretty strong though. This is going to be a really big, like if it did close down here below the EMA and that's a good signal bar, it's going to be a really big bar. And you'd have to push through that support. And I'm not okay with that. No, thank you. Shaping up to be a day with no trades. But a day with no trades is better than a day with a losing trade. So technically, I mean, this closes, I think, 2 ticks away. But really, I'd like to see it close below the EMA. And this is totally doji. It just at the very end of the bar came down here. It wasn't like consistent momentum. So what I would have liked to have seen, and I still probably wouldn't have taken it because the bar's so big, but is for prices to go up here and then turn down and consistently sell off and end basically right at the lows. It's not to say it won't work though. I would bet that this one as an engulfing bar below here, as the lower high breaks lower, was probably a pretty decent trade. It's not really a ton of room though. So earlier I pointed out how there's 2 legs up here. It looks like maybe those 2 legs made up 1 leg, and then you get a second leg. So 2 legs, That's all one. Move down. 2 legs. That makes up the second leg. So uptrend. Break. Leg 1. Break. Leg 2. But if you look on a smaller scale, uptrend. Break. 2 legs up. Down. 2 legs up. That's what it looks like to me. But it might not be. Maybe you get something like that, but it's really choppy. I think you're better off just playing short-term stuff. Now I'm getting real bored. This is about the time that I'd like to throw in a podcast or something. But I won't do that. Basically, the only way that I would take a trade right now is if prices started trending down. That's basically all that I'm looking for. Highly doubt there's any kind of larger trend. That's no way. This, still possible, but probably not right. So what I'd really like to see is just a nice trend down. That would give me confidence. Maybe you'll get it, but probably not. Lots of times whenever I trade, I'll wear a, what's it called? Noise canceling headphones. But they're a lot more comfortable than this headset that I'm wearing right now. My ears kind of hurt. And now it's about the time whenever I'm counting down the time until trading day's over. Which again goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I mean, I know I like doing this, but do I like doing it as much as I say I do? Because shouldn't I just love watching prices as is, even if it's slow and a little bit boring? Or maybe my attention span's just shot. I don't know. There's obviously not a trade right now, so I'm actually going to test out that theory. I'm going to get up, walk downstairs real quick, maybe grab some water, see if I can sort of reset. Alright, went and ate a granola bar. Walked around for a second. I checked Discord whenever I got back. And now I'm here again. Looks like nothing has happened, just kind of chopping higher. Well, this downtrend's obviously not right. Instead, there's a short-term downtrend. I think it's a break in a new low. That's it. This resistance does not look like that. Does not look like it is being respected anymore. This trade is probably not a good one, but this one probably is. Well, still aggressive, but would not be surprised if Mac marks that one. That's basically what I'm saying with these green ones is, what do I think that Mac might mark? This one, maybe. Maybe. And back to sitting on my hands. So now that prices have already made the break a new high or not trading down again, I would be more interested in taking a long. Definitely more interested in taking a long than a short. If you get a nice pullback to the EMA, I'll probably take it. Though I'm not entirely sure what trend might be correct here. It's possible you get something like this. Yeah, never mind. So yeah, I don't know where the trend might be. Keep playing with it. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't look right. So I have Max Premium membership, so I'm gonna go check his midday chart. I actually don't check it that often. Like I said, I keep the Stay Focused plugin on most of the time, so I don't really have access to anything. But I'm gonna check that out. So his chart looks pretty similar to mine for the most part. He does have this range lower. I'll go ahead and move that down there. Let's see how it looks. Yep, he's got that lower. So let's change everything. So he's got this trend here, kind of cuts through there, and that makes sense. It doesn't actually help you much more than having this spike, but that makes sense having this here because you can see that hold and then you get the two legs to a new high. So yeah, as far as having this range down here, I don't think it's actually any better than having it higher. I don't think it actually helps you really any more. For this uptrend, this one's kind of weird that he has here. So he's got this. I initially had this drawn, but whenever prices didn't hold again, hold again, I took that off. And I really like the way that spike and channel fits, so I'm going to stick with what I have there. Stick with that. That's about it. That's about all that he had different. This range was the same. This downtrend's the same. Yep. That's a pretty strong little uptrend right there. Like I was saying earlier, if there's a good pullback, then I'll take it. That's a really strong uptrend right there. That makes me think exhaustion. Whenever you get stuff like this, I'm always tempted to take a reversion to the mean trade and see prices maybe make a lower high and come back to the EMA. But those are just so aggressive. It's so much easier to trade with the trend. See, now the prices are sort of moving. I'm a little bit more into what's happening. Looks like there's probably a wider trend going up here. Whoops. Something like that. I don't see any kind of measured moves that you might be working towards except for the range. So maybe that's what we're going for. There it is. It's my best bet as of right now. I would love to see a two-legged correction down to the EMA. I just realized we're going on 3 years of trading Pats. I said we. I am going on 3 years of trading Max system. Pretty crazy. I'm not sure if the live stream is getting the audio from me putting in orders. Let's
Order
see. Oh,
submitted.
yeah, it is. I can't hear it through my headset though. I guess I
Order
have that set up
canceled.
wrong. It's probably really loud, I bet. Let's see.
Order submitted.
That's about as loud as I am.
Order canceled.
All right, potential setup occurring. Sometimes I get so bored I'm tempted to just be like, well, let's just buy just so something happens. I won't do it, but I'm sure everybody feels that and just get antsy. Even though there's a setup potentially occurring, I just found myself really zoned out, just thinking about other stuff. So need to sort of focus on the price action. Clearly you have this one leg down working. I'd like to see this break and get a 2 legs down to the EMA. That would be a really good setup in my opinion. I think for the most part, if I stuck to taking 2 legs to the EMA, then I'd probably do pretty well. And I've tried doing that where I made that just a rule set, where I said, okay, I'm only going to take 2 legs to the EMA whenever there's a break in a new low. It didn't matter if it was a second entry to me. And I didn't do well. But I think the reason is because then you start overfitting. You start taking stuff that aren't actually trades. So it's like you kind of have to be open to taking other stuff to be able to read the chart. And then if one occurs, then you take it. There's also not very many that happen. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I could just take those. Maybe I should just take those. I don't know. This month, at least, I committed to only taking Top Gun signal bars off of the EMA. Top Gun meaning ticks above or below the previous bar and closes 2 ticks or less from the extreme and is touching the EMA, longs above, shorts below, but always touching. So that's what I'm doing in January. I've done really well doing that in the past. Those are the trades that I'm most comfortable with. And I have the habit of really just continuously switching up my rules and such. It's not really a good habit. So this is what I've committed to for the month, at least. And we'll see after January where we're at. Maybe I'll see that, hey, that wasn't good because I missed a bunch of trades that I wish that I would have taken. Or maybe I'll see, oh yeah, I actually did pretty well. Maybe I want to pare down even further from there. But regardless, that's how I'm going to think about this, for now at least. But even yesterday, I took a loss yesterday, and I was thinking, oh, this doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. But I just took a bad trade. Like, you can't help yourself if you just take a bad trade. It's just against the bias. So the bias was down, and I took a long, hoping for a failed second entry reversal type trade, which is just not. I mean, I don't know, it can be good, but at least in the context, it wasn't the right context. So we've broken the short-term downtrend. So now if we get a break and a new low and a good signal bar off the EMA, then I'm going to be interested in going long. Also, if we got a break and a new low and then a higher low off the EMA, I would also be interested. If we got a failure, so break, new low, failure, also might be interested. But ideally, we'll get those 2 legs down, those perfect 2 legs, or the higher low. And hopefully we won't just move to a new high first, because we might. It's looking like that might be the case. And sometimes whenever prices do this, I'll catch myself being like, come on, don't do it. Come on. Give me the entry. But that's not really how you should be. I think I should just be watching and observing what happens. Just going from there. I think being indifferent is really what I should be shooting for. Be indifferent about what happens. If I get an entry, I get one. If I don't, I don't. Who cares? But it's hard. It's hard to feel that way though. When have you been sitting here all day? Well, I say all day. It's been 2 hours, which is a pretty long time. I mean, 2 hours is a sizable chunk. So I'm catching myself. My eyes are sort of closing, getting real tired here. It's looking like it's unlikely that the setup that I was hoping for will occur whenever you've moved up this far. It's not impossible, but it's looking less likely. So essentially the trade that I took yesterday would be similar to if I, after this trend plays out, if I took a failure below the EMA. And while you might look at that and say, okay, well, that's a decent trade. I mean, the trend played out, but the thing is, like, the overall bias is up. You're making higher highs and higher lows, and you're trying to buck the trend, and that's just not a very good idea. I mean, I'd rather stick with what's happening and think that what's happening is likely to continue happening than to bet on something new happening. Even if you do get a couple lower lows, so you can see higher highs, you make a few lower lows, but it's not enough. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you went to a larger tick chart, you'd be seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, all these higher highs. You wouldn't see all this little noise here. So made a double top. Not going to be looking to really take that long anymore. Just gotta stretch for a second. For an aggressive trader, maybe a triple test up here would be good. But not I. back to sort of zoning out. I was thinking about something else. And back to counting down the time. Got about 30 minutes left. Just whenever I know that I'm not interested in taking a trade, but really I think that I should just be engrossed in watching what prices are doing. Again, so you've had one attempt at the new high. Would not be surprised if you then get a similar second leg starting soon. It's also a double top, so I could see the potential for a range being created here, but you only have one test on the low side. So I'm going to wait and see what happens. So the volatility just picked up right there. For a second I thought there might be a news item, but I don't think so. Looks like it could be two larger legs down. It's like a visual two legs, but you made that double top there. So I'm not interested, though I'm tempted to take this trade off the EMA. So I'm definitely tempted to take this. I'm not going to take it though. It's just not quite what I'm looking for with this double top. If you had made about a half pullback to this high, then I might be interested. And it doesn't even ever break higher, but I mean, that's a pretty quick sell off right there. So I wonder why this volatility is coming in here. You can see prices are moving a lot faster right now. All right, we're trading down. We're trading down pretty strongly too. That's a pretty quick flip through the EMA. And I was saying earlier how I wouldn't really be interested in taking a short here. But the difference between what I was doing yesterday and this one is that this is a strong sell-off through the EMA, and with that speed too, that makes me think, okay, something has changed. So maybe it's okay to take a short through here, or maybe I'm just convincing myself that it is, and I'm just wrong. Either way, I can't take this first pullback because that's moved too far for a lower high, but if you get some sort of failure, maybe I'm interested. Plus, it would give you an opportunity, or give prices an opportunity to prove themselves some more. But this is a pretty strong sell-off right here. So let's see what happens. Short-term downtrend. Maybe we'll get a break of that and a chance to go short. But just gotta watch and wait and see. You still haven't made a major lower low. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think this trend is correct, but you can see pretty clearly. And obviously, I mean, I'm going to cut through some prices here, but obviously you're making higher highs and higher lows. I don't think this is correct. It's probably unlikely that a trend like this is correct. But if you were to sort of cut through prices and go there, you can see we're clearly making higher highs and higher lows. I don't think it's correct because there's such an early break right here. But it's still maybe a little bit early to go short. We'll see. The selling has definitely slowed down here. It's not as strong as it was. So I'm not like dying to go short like I was a second ago. A second ago I was thinking, okay, where can I get in? But now it's sort of died down. It's a lot slower. So maybe it's not as strong, and this is just truly a pullback. I would still be open if this downtrend maybe gets a break, a new low, and a higher low above the EMA with a strong push above. I would be open to taking something like that. This is, I guess, sort of a dangerous area then, because I could see prices going down. I could see them coming down and testing this this support or this old resistance, and possibly even coming back within this range. But what I could also see are prices continuing higher with this overall trend. I could see that happening, which is, again, don't think that this trend is correct, but I could see prices continuing with that and then heading for this break a new high, which was just a double top previously. Similar to this, how you got this kind of triple test, but then prices did end up coming back. So maybe we'll get something similar here. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. But I need to just let prices show me what they're going to do. Getting congestion. 1, 2, 3 stack bars with 2 dojis. It's definitely not showing me strength right now. Get a short-term downtrend with a break. Might be a short-term downtrend, break, new low, higher low, potentially. Potential for a failure. So short-term downtrend, attempt 1. Maybe you get a strong push through in a second attempt at the new low. It kind of depends on how strong this push through the EMA is. So I need to hone in on that. Not super strong. It's like methodically working higher. Okay, it is decently strong. There we go. We're getting some movement, but we're moving pretty further than I'd like. So let's see about this potential pullback. Okay, let's double check what I'm seeing here. Overall, up bias, short-term uptrend, break, attempted a new high, makes a double top. Short-term downtrend. It's a pretty strong one through the EMA. First break of the EMA in a while. First entry short. Second entry short. That's a pretty strong downtrend right there. And we close below the EMA. Even if we were to push above and close above the EMA, I'm not interested anymore. Now I'm thinking possibly I'll go short, actually. So you see there's a second entry short. Maybe you'll get a little, maybe like a lower high right here that might trap some longs. So let's see. Okay, flip-flopping the EMA. That's a pretty strong push. That's not really what I was thinking. So in this area, I think the fact that I am switching biases like this and so quickly and so much. So whenever we were moving down, I was thinking, okay, we might be looking for a short. And then we started moving up and I was like, we might be looking for a long. And now we're moving down, I'm thinking we might be looking for a short. That should probably be a sign that it's not a good time to enter because it's not super clear which direction I need to be trading with. Yes, the short-term downtrend might get a break, a new low. Yes, this uptrend might get a break, a new high. Overall bias is up. Maybe you'll continue with that. There's a lot of maybes and a lot of conflicting information. So I'm going to wait for something clearer. Maybe we'll get some kind of minor downtrend like this. So we'll see if something like that is a possibility. So if we move down and touch this opposite side and then come back and get an entry, maybe that's something I'm looking for. But we only got 20 more minutes. It's looking like I probably won't take a trade today, and that's okay. I'll bet you Mac will probably mark that one, but I don't really know how you'd get into that consistently for myself. Back to sitting, waiting, watching. It's the majority of what I've done today. Majority of what I do every day. So my problem trading is not patience. I can be very patient. I cannot take trades for days on end. It's not a problem for me. Now, actually picking the right trades is a different story. That I am not very good at. I used to think that I was pretty good at it, and my issue was discipline and patience. But that's not the case through studying my past trades. Now, at least, maybe that was the case back in the day, or at least I thought that was the case back in the day. But chances are I wasn't picking the right trades then either. I'll have to look back actually. So let's see what happens at this measured move. This is an area that I struggle sometimes. Whenever you've made two legs in a direction, are you expecting to continue, or am I now expecting prices to continue to move up with the overall bias? It sort of depends, I guess. So our short-term downtrend has a break a new low, and we have a second short-term downtrend down, looking for the measured move down. We'll see if this needs a break a new low of its own, or if we're able to exceed the measured move. If we're able to exceed the measured move by a decent amount, that will probably tell me, okay, we're going to continue lower. I also want to see what happens whenever we get to this, the opposite side here. Had to sneeze there, so I muted the mic. Oh, again. Figured I'd save the eardrums. All right, measured move is met. We're touching on the opposite side as well. This would be a logical place for prices to turn around. That would have been a one tick failure right there if you went from 1-to-1 for that trade that I marked earlier. Got 15 minutes left, so we'll see. Maybe we'll get a entry off of this potential trend line. Even though it only has 2 touches on the main side, the fact that it has 3 on the opposite side, if there's a good setup off of this trend line, I would probably be willing to take it. Okay, we're pushing past the measured move. Let's get in a little bit closer. Pushing past the measured move and the opposite side. It's possible you have something maybe a little bit steeper. Even then, can't quite get it to fit right. So I'm going to go back to how I had it, like this. And I'm going to say this trend might not be correct. But there's definitely a down bias, so I'll leave it just in case. See what happens. So this would be a tough call. So if we come back to the EMA and have a setup, it'd be a tough call on whether I take that and say we're likely to retest this downtrend, or skip it and say we're likely to come up to this downtrend. That's a call I'll have to make whenever we get there, if we do. We're really moving down here. I think this downtrend is officially not correct. It looks like we're moving back within this range. So even though I'm only trading for 10 more minutes, I might stick on a little bit longer now that we have this downtrend working, because this is exactly what I wanted to see happen. We're probably a ways off from me really getting a setup though, because I would have to see prices pull all the way back to the EMA. If they pulled just straight back right now, I would not be interested. So they'd have to kind of work back, and then even then, I wouldn't really want to trade into that old resistance. I do wonder if there's some sort of trend that worked up through here. I don't know, it's possible, but probably not likely. Whenever you get a trend like this, it's almost a guarantee that it's going to get a retest. The problem is timing it. It's very difficult. Okay, looks like we're breaking it, potentially. Let's see if we get 2 legs back to the EMA. My eyes are closing here. I'm getting real tired. Looking forward to taking a little nap after this. It's a promising start with this leg back. So hoping that prices don't just head to the break a new low, but they might. Let's see what happens. So ideally, we get maybe a measured move up right here. Price will just turn up. We get a little trade off the EMA. That's what I'm hoping for. But not like that. So you can see prices sort of close back within that short-term uptrend. So that's kind of still in play now. This will probably be the last setup that I watch today. Similar to what I was saying with this setup, I would also be fine if prices push temporarily above and then need a lower high or failure. So I'm going to watch this pullback, hope that there's a setup on this one. If not, then call it a day and move on. Go work on other things. So as far as studying goes, as of recent, what I've been doing is I keep a calendar of habits, and on there I have 1 hour of trading study, and what that looks like is either bar by bar or studying a certain concept or some past charts or something for an hour. And usually I'll take about half an hour to study the day's chart. So study all the trades that I took, all the ones that I feel like I missed, and just kind of go through the day. I've been lacking a little bit, or slacking a little bit on studying the daily chart, or the day's chart, the one that I actually traded, when that's actually probably what I should be looking at the most. I'll probably get the most out of studying that one, so I need to do better about studying that, but I need a good routine, to be honest, to really maximize that. So we're moving up. It looks like this could be viewed two ways. So you could say this is a closeout side and you're moving to the new high. I had to sneeze again. You could say that's a closeout side and I'll move to a new high already. Or this is a little bit wider, although it's looking more and more like this is actually a closeout side. So I would not take this unless it comes back to the EMA. So let's see what it does. Go ahead and zoom in here a little bit. There's some previous support here, but prices don't seem to have really paid any mind to that. So this is a potential setup if I was taking prices, or if I was taking stuff that's not just at the EMA, but it would be a little bit aggressive because it's not back to the EMA. This is a strong enough downtrend that maybe you can take that, assuming there's a good signal bar here. But I am not going to take that. Also, you can see how prices are stacking inside of this bar right here. So that's definitely some congestion there, which is concerning. With this rejecting for those 2 ticks, I wouldn't have taken that anyway. But maybe now you can get a failed breakout of this congestion off of the EMA and get a good trade. I saw somebody in the forum talking about congestive second entries and how sometimes you'll get a second entry, but it's congestive, and then you'll get a failed breakout, and that will be the good trade. But of course, sometimes anything will happen, because anything can happen. So let's see. Going on 12, just about the time that I'd normally stop here. But like I said, I'll wait for this setup, see if one appears. It's looking pretty promising. So now, just looking to see, are prices going to touch the EMA, and are they going to give me a nice bearish bar? I can hear my phone just unlocked from the lockbox that I was talking about, that I lock it in so that way I don't touch it, but I'm not going to touch it until I'm done. Don't want to be distracted. This little mini range of congestion is still holding. You're stalling a lot here. So I would prefer to see prices just kind of move back, two perfect legs, and then continuation. This is a lot of sort of sideways action. It could be seen in two different ways. You could say, okay, there's sideways action because prices want to come back to the EMA. They want to revert to the mean. There's a lot of selling pressure. That could be true. Or it could mean that there's not very much selling pressure. Here, with prices moving down, it's looking like the latter. And that prices are just weak, so they can't come back, and so they're congesting. But we'll see, because this also could be a failed breakout the low side, which leads to a failed breakout the high side before the break and new low. But the short-term uptrend already has a break and a new high, so there's nothing really keeping prices from going lower right now. You can see there's definitely some resistance up at this area, and it looks like we are hitting it. We're hitting that break and new low there. It's unfortunate. Well, that is where I'll call it a day. That's at least a double bottom, and that's gonna, well, there we go. We actually made it, so. Yep. And that's why the timing is so difficult. I was pretty sure the prices were going to hit that break and new low, but actually hitting that timing is a hard thing to do. Because if I took this, there's a very good chance the prices would come back, stop me out, and then move down. So it's just that's difficult. But yeah, probably going to stream tomorrow and maybe keep that going because I enjoyed this.